The summer of 1888 saw alarming weather conditions across the whole of England with strong wind and heavy rain that caused widespread flooding. It would be somewhat ironic that the early hours of August 31st, a day that would be described as bright and fine in contrast to the previous extreme climate, would behold a discovery, which in turn would begin England's most dark and significant mystery. 3:30 a.m., Bucks Row, now called Durward Street, Whitechapel, London. 43-year-old Mary Ann Nichols had been seen alive only an hour prior, yet now her body was found by Mrs. Emily Holland, someone she had shared a bed with at a common lodging in Thrall Street. Nichols' remains shocked local law enforcement. 2 deep cuts cleaved her throat, cutting all the tissues down to the vertebrae, her lower abdomen partially torn open, causing her bowels to jut out. Her genitalia had been stabbed twice. The murder came at a time when the district of Whitechapel had just begun to recover from the violent slaying of Martha Tabram. Tabram, aged 39, had at a glance been mistaken for a sleeping homeless woman by a cab driver at 3:30 a.m. It would not be until 5 a.m. when a dockmaster, John Reeves, on his way to work, would discover Tabram dead. The labourer would alert Dr. Timothy Killeen to the attack, and upon arriving at 5:30 a.m, he would estimate Tabram had been deceased for around 3 hours, meaning she had died somewhere between 2 and 3:30 a.m. Her attacker had stabbed her 39 times in the body and neck, including 9 in the throat, 5 in the left lung, 2 in the right lung, 1 in the heart, 5 in the liver, 2 in the spleen, and 6 in her stomach. Her lower abdomen and genitals were also injured. She was on her back and skirt raised to her middle, much like a sexual position. September 8th, around 6 a.m, 47-year-old Annie Chapman's body was found near some steps to a doorway to a backyard of Hanbury Street. Much like Nichols, Chapman's throat had been slit twice. Her abdomen had been sliced open, a segment of flesh from her stomach had been placed on her left shoulder, her small intestines removed and lain above her right shoulder. Her autopsy revealed her uterus, parts of her bladder, and vagina had been removed. Unfortunately, the majority of the City of London police files regarding the investigation of these murders were destroyed during the Blitz, German mass aerial bombings against industrial locations, towns and major cities in the UK between 1940 and 1941. We do know that the police conducted door-to-door investigations through the Whitechapel district. Suspects were identified and traced. Yet arguably, some of the most valuable evidence would be delivered right to their doorstep. A letter, dated September 25th and postmarked on the 27th, was received by the Central News Agency. Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue, and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send it to the police officers, just for a jolly. Wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away, if I get a chance. Good luck, yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands, curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now. Ha ha. The letter was considered a hoax for a brief period of time. That brief period of time being 3 days. 2 women would be found in the early hours of September 30th. 44-year-old Elizabeth Stride was found around 1 a.m. in Dutfield Yard, Berner Street, now Henrique Street. Cause of death was one long cut across her neck, and her death was considered strange as there were no mutilations, and it's speculated that the murder was interrupted. Catherine Eddowes, age 46, was found in Meter Square a mere 45 minutes after Stride's body was. Again, her throat was slashed, abdomen torn open, intestines placed over the right shoulder. The left kidney and most of her uterus had been removed, face disfigured, nose severed, cheeks cut, and other cuts were made into her eyelids. But the next detail was the most important to the investigators. A part of her auricle and lobe of her right ear was found in her clothes. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off. This was him, and he had named himself. Shortly after the double homicide, on October 1st, a postcard was delivered to the Central News Agency. I was not codding dear old boss when I gave you the tip. You'll hear about Saucy Jack's work tomorrow. Double event this time. Number 1 squealed a bit. Couldn't finish straight off. Had not time to get ears off for police. Thanks for keeping last letter back till I got back to work again. Jack the Ripper. In 1931, journalist Fred Best of The Star claimed he and a colleague at the newspaper had written all the letters signed Jack the Ripper in order to keep the business alive. However, some have argued that the letters were sent before the murders were publicised, meaning the police would not have made any of the findings public. In 2018, a forensic linguistic analysis found strong linguistic evidence suggesting that the postcard and Dear Boss letter were written by the same person, a person who was giving details of the murders they were about to commit. On October 16th, George Lusk, leader of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, received a letter titled From Hell. Mr. Lusk, sir, I send you half the kidney I took from one woman, preserved it for you, t'other piece I fried and ate. It was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out if you only wait a while longer. Signed, Catch Me When You Can, Mr. Lusk. The Dear Boss and Saucy Jack letters both had similar handwriting and writing style, whereas this one appeared to be different. However, this letter came with a gift, a small box with half a kidney. Dr. Thomas Openshaw at London Hospital confirmed it was the left side of a human kidney. Eddowes' body was also missing a kidney. He too would later receive a Jack the Ripper letter. 9th of November. An extremely mutilated and disemboweled body was found in Miller's Court off Dorset Street at 10:45 a.m. The body was that of Mary Jane Kelly, aged 25, who lived there. Her face had been hacked beyond recognition, throat cut down to the spine, abdomen emptied of all of its organs. Her uterus, kidney, and one breast had been removed, placed under her head. Other body parts had been set on the bedside table. Her heart was missing. It is believed that she is the last of the Ripper's victims. Nichols, Chapman, Stride, Eddowes, and Kelly are known as the Canonical Five, the 5 victims all thought to be killed by the same person, Jack the Ripper. All were women, all were prostitutes, all were mutilated, bar Stride, whose murder is believed to have been interrupted, focusing on the lower abdomen and face. Tabram, while murdered around the same time, is not considered a Ripper victim, as her throat wasn't slit, nor was she dissected post-mortem. Other murders have been speculated to be committed by the Ripper, yet have not been widely accepted, and another killer, the Thames Torso Killer, has been linked to some of these. So, who was Jack the Ripper? He was not unnoticed. After Chapman's murder, an Elizabeth Long stated she saw her outside Hanbury Street around 5:30 a.m. with a dark-haired man in a brown deerstalker hat and dark coat. He asked Chapman, "Will you?" and she replied, "Yes." Several witnesses told police they'd seen Stride with a man, but each gave different descriptions. Cigarette salesman Joseph Lawrence said he had passed through the square with 2 friends and saw a fair-haired man with an unknown woman, maybe Eddowes. There are many theories as to who Jack the Ripper was. A book by Australian researcher Ted Lynn claims that Tabram's own husband is the Ripper. Others believe American serial killer H.H. Holmes was responsible. Recent forensic evidence has opened the case wide open, but as it's 132 years old, with a lot of evidence damaged or missing, we may never know. The Jack the Ripper case remains to be one of the most mysterious unsolved crimes in the UK and world history.